When you have a homeowners association on a property, there are a couple of documents you want to make sure that are included in your contract for sale. First, please note that there are several different HOA notices and associated documents in DocuSign. For the purposes of today, we are looking at the most common one, which is for resale of a lot within a development of any size. So primarily, you're going to be dealing with a contract on a property where someone has previously lived in it and they are reselling it. So this will be the appropriate document to use. This particular notice basically just spells out the terms of the Maryland Homeowners Association Act. There are numerous responsibilities that the seller has, so we need to make sure that we discuss the implications for your buyer. So the seller will provide a statement as to whether the lot is located in a development and also the name of that development. The seller is also required to disclose any current fees or assessments imposed by the HOA, as well as the total amount of fees and a statement as to whether any fees, charges, or assessments are delinquent. They also need to provide for the buyer the contact information for the management agent of the HOA. They also need to tell us whether or not they know of any unsatisfied judgments or pending lawsuits against the HOA, and if there are any pending claims, covenants, violations, or defaults against the lot. In addition to all of these notices, they're required to provide a whole bunch of documents for the review of the buyer. This is typically called the resale package in terms that the HOA will understand. But you'll receive a copy of the Articles of Incorporation for the HOA, the declaration, as well as all recorded covenants and restrictions related to the lot. So this is a large stack of documents that they're going to provide. In addition to those, we'll receive the bylaws and rules of the development, to which the buyer shall become obligated on becoming an owner of the lot. Now, so long as you didn't receive these documents at least 5 days prior to entering the contract, the buyer has a right within 5 days from receiving these documents that they can cancel the contract in writing, and you do not have to state a reason. This is a very, very important right that the buyer has if there's an HOA regime on this property. Basically, once you get the documents for any reason, you have a 5-day window to cancel. If you do cancel, you will be entitled to a refund of any deposit you made on account of the contract. So this states outright that as long as you cancel within this 5-day period, the buyer should get their earnest money deposit back. Finally, it just states that by purchasing a lot, there are various restrictions and rights that are implicated by the HOA. Oftentimes, there will be an architectural design committee that will have to approve architecture changes. They can restrict the type of vehicles, how many people live there, whether you can rent, whether you can run a business, or other miscellaneous matters. So it's really important that you make sure you review the HOA documents with your buyer to make sure that it will fit their needs. So that is the notice associated with an HOA. This is the document that would actually be sent along with the resale package. So the seller, usually once the property is under contract, then the seller will request the resale package from the HOA. So this again is the disclosures for resale of a lot within a development of any size. And this basically is where the seller actually fills out all of their required disclosures that were set forth in the notice. So they name the development, they lay out any fees, they lay out the total fees that were charged this past year, and they also have to provide any actual knowledge of any active lawsuits or delinquencies against the lot. As discussed, the seller also needs to provide contact information for the management agent. And they will also need to check off that they provided all of the pertinent documents laid out in the notice. So the articles of incorporation, declarations of covenants and restrictions, sometimes called CC&Rs, as well as the bylaws and rules of the development. In each instance, they will have to set forth whether these attached documents are enforceable against the owner and/or the owner's tenants. So this will need to be signed by all parties upon the seller providing the necessary documents to the buyer. So this is, again, the breakdown of the HOA documents under normal circumstances. The seller is required to provide numerous documents and statements about the HOA. And then once those HOA documents are provided, attached to this disclosure, then that triggers the 5-day period by which the buyer can terminate the contract. Please make sure that you fully understand these documents and discuss with your client.